Hey guys, Rick Stone here from Stoney Acres Gardening. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm super excited about this video because I've got 25 plus different vegetables that you should be planting out in your garden during the month of May. May is my favorite month of the year for the garden because there are so many things that we are going to be planting during this month. This is the month when it all happens. Now, admittedly, I already have stuff growing. I've got potatoes planted, I've got peas, I've got spinach and lettuce and kale and things like that growing already. But May is the month when it all really happens, okay? So this video is intended for those of you who live in areas where your last frost date lands in the month of May or maybe even a little bit before. So that might mean that you live in zones 4, 5, 6, or 7. It doesn't really matter because zone is not important. What's important for this planting guide is when your last frost date is, okay? So if your last frost date lands sometime in the month of May, this is what you're going to be planting this month. So first off, we have a bunch of cool season crops that we can still be planting. Now, you probably already have some lettuce in, some carrots and things like that, but there are things that you can still be planting early in the month of May to still get a harvest of these cool season crops. So let's start off with the root crops. So things like radishes, beets, turnips, carrots, all of those can still be planted early in the month of May. We want to get them in fairly early so that they are maturing, in early July, but we can definitely still be planting some of those root crops during this month. Next on our list are the leafy greens. So we've got things like kale, collards, Swiss chard, mustard greens, all of those leafy greens, we can still get a last planting in of those. Again, earlier the better. Also, we can do lettuce, but with lettuce, I want you to start shifting your mindset. I want you to shift away from butter crunch, head lettuces, romaines, leaf lettuces, things like that. And I want you to shift to lettuces called summer crisp lettuces. So here are the varieties that we're looking for are Nevada, Muir, Concept, Fusion, and Cherokee. Those varieties of lettuce are what we call summer crisp lettuces, and they're more tolerant to the heat. Because think about it, if you plant some lettuce seeds on May 1st, they're going to be maturing somewhere between June 15th and probably June 30th. What's the weather like that time of year? It's starting to get warmer, and so we want to shift to those more warm tolerant greens so that they will still do well as the weather continues to progress. Other cool season crops that you could be planting, you could probably still get some cilantro in, maybe use a slow bolt variety of cilantro this time of year. And if you've got some bunching onions, you could get bunching onions in as well, and they would still do well. And then we have potatoes. Now, potatoes are technically a warm season crop, but we plant them in the cool season. So I just want to make sure that everybody is clear that you can get your potatoes planted now, even if you haven't had your last frost yet. So the window for planting potatoes is actually a pretty big one, anywhere from 4 weeks before your last frost date to 4 weeks after your last frost date, you can plant potatoes. So that is now. Right now you can get potatoes in. So go to your nursery, get some seed potatoes, order some online, but get those seed potatoes planted as soon as possible, even if it's before your last frost date, because it's going to take a few weeks for them to get up, and so they will be just fine. So get your potatoes planted. Now let's move on to the warm season crops. Now this is the fun stuff. This is the stuff that we grow all summer long, and now is the time for us to start thinking about getting those in. But with warm season crops, we have to wait until after our last chance of frost. So for example, our last frost usually lands somewhere between May 10th and May 15th, which means we're usually targeting right around Mother's Day as when we're going to be putting these warm season crops out into our garden. So what are we talking about here? Well, first off, we've got the tomato family. So tomatoes, tomatillos, peppers, and eggplants. All of those are going to go in right about our last frost date. Then we have things like our beans. So your shelling beans, your black beans, your pinto beans, soybeans, and then your green beans. Both pole and bush varieties are all going to go in right about that last frost date. Then we also have corn. So both corn and popcorn can be planted now in May. In fact, you can cheat just a little bit with the corn. So corn usually takes about a week to 10 days to get up. So you can plant those about a week before your last frost date, and you should be in pretty good shape with corn. If you want to try out some of the summer greens, so here we're talking about New Zealand spinach and Malabar spinach. Both of those are frost sensitive, so you have to wait till your last frost date, but May is the time for you to actually get those planted so they can get off and growing and be ready for you to harvest later on. You can also get your okra planted this time of year, and then we have the entire squash family. So here we're talking about pumpkins, summer squashes, winter squashes, cucumbers, and melons. All of those we can direct seed or use starts and put those in the ground. Right about our last frost date is when we're going to target those. Then we also have our herbs, so all of our annual herbs, so things like basil and parsley and oregano and thyme, all of those are going to go out right about your last frost date. Dill as well would be another one that could go out this time of year. If you've got some celery starts, you could get some celery starts in still. And then last on our list is sweet potatoes. And I saved sweet potatoes for last, and I'm going to go up and pull peppers down into this category as well. Peppers and sweet potatoes are frost sensitive, okay? Frost will kill the plants, but they're also cool sensitive. Sweet potatoes and peppers do not like temperatures below about 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And so we want to wait to plant those until our nighttime temperatures have warmed up into that zone. So, you know, we can get our tomatoes, our tomatillos and things like that, our squashes, all of those can go in when the temperatures are a little bit lower. But sweet potatoes and peppers will get set back. It won't kill the plant. If we get temperatures in the 40s, it won't kill the plant, okay? But it will set them back. And so we want to wait just a little bit longer on those. So for me, again, our last frost date, roughly May 15th. We usually are waiting until like the 25th-ish of May before we're putting our peppers and our sweet potatoes in, just to make sure. And I always look at the forecast and go, okay, we're about the 20th, and the next 10 days of the weather forecast show that we're going to be above 50 degrees at night. Now I can go ahead and get those peppers and those sweet potatoes in. So make sure you hold off just a little bit longer on sweet potatoes and peppers. All right, so there you go, 25 plus vegetables that you could be planting during the month of May. I love May. This is when the garden comes together. All the things are going in and we're off and running on an awesome garden. So make sure you get all these things planted during the month of May. Let me know if you have any questions. Did I miss anything? Possible. Let me know in the comments down below. Before we go, I did want to point out something that's going to sound really weird for you. It is spring, but believe it or not, it's actually time to start thinking about fall already. So within the next 6 weeks or so, we are going to be having to get some of our fall crops started. And so it's time to actually start thinking and planning about your fall and winter gardens, even though we're months and months away from that. And I've got a way to help you progress on that fall and winter garden planning, and that is by watching my free year-round gardening mini course. And there's a link down in the description of this video that you can click on. It'll take you over. You can sign up for it. It's about 45 minutes long. It's a good primer course to get you ready for fall and winter gardening. And again, that's called the year-round gardening mini course. It's free. There's a link down in the description of this video that you can click on to go join that. All right, that, my friends, is all I have for this week. Everybody have a fantastic week. Get out and get your garden planted. Happy gardening.